What's going on, YouTube friends and family? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a wonderful week so far. This is going to be an important video to a lot of people who are fans of the House of Amouage, and more in particular, Jubilation and what could be from Jubilation 40 if you have not personally tried that fragrance yet. So, Jubilation 25, of course, came out on Amouage's 25th anniversary, and this fragrance has and is currently done at 25% oil concentration. It's never changed, despite people saying it's weaker, it's 15% or 18% now. Amouage is diluting stuff. There's no basis in fact for that. Anything with natural ingredients is going to go through batch variations. That's true with any fragrance using a lot of natural ingredients, and even bourbons and single malt scotches. When you're using natural stuff in abundance, you're always going to have variations. And if Amouage had stayed consistent over the last 25 years perfectly, you'd have people complaining the other way, saying they're only consistent because they use too many aroma chemicals and they're not using natural ingredients anymore. So sometimes a fragrance company, they just can't win. It's very interesting, this fragrance community. I've been in cigars and single malt scotch and bourbons, and that's a pretty finicky community, but I don't hear half of the complaints that I do from the fragrance community about reformulations and everything's a clone. It just gets a little bit weird at times with people complaining about that stuff. A lot of it is not based in fact. So let's stick to the facts here. 25% oil concentration. It was when it first came out years ago. It still is, even in the brand new packaging that everyone claims is weak. 40% oil concentration because, of course, Jubilation 40 was done on their 40th anniversary, so you got the 40% oil concentration. And who knows, maybe as they go down and they get to their 50th anniversary, they'll do another one of Jubilation 50 or something like that. But man, the two fragrances, they are almost identical. So if you like Jubilation 25 and you've tried it, maybe you're not missing out on anything trying Jubilation 40. I will say the Jubilation 40 has a slightly more gourmand, like nutty type of note to it, slightly more woody as well. And these are just very minor differences. Keep that in mind. I mean, the DNA, if you were to smell them blind, or at least in the air on somebody, I don't really know if you'd be able to tell the difference. Maybe even a slightly deeper, like juicier note to this one with the rosemary, but this does have black currant, which the regular one does not. The regular one just has blackberry. So again, extremely very, similar fragrances. The base notes, very similar as well in terms of not only what's in them, they're the exact same, but maybe just a little bit more concentration of like ambergris and oud with the 40. Maybe they just put a little bit more of those in there. But again, guys, are you really missing anything if you get Jubilation 40 or if you get 25 and don't have the 40? I wouldn't say so. In fact, I use these very similar to the Triumph of Bacchus and then the Triumph of Bacchus 40 X-Straight. Jubilation 25, I wear it a little bit more during the summertime and on days that I know I don't really need it to last for 14 to 16 hours. Just like the Triumph of Bacchus X-Straight, Jubilation 40, the X-Straight, on days where I want to wear Jubilation 25, but maybe I have to wake up at like 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning, I have a dinner function later that evening, I'm not going to get a chance to reapply the fragrance, and I still want to smell like Jubilation 40, I'll just quite simply choose this one because I know it's going to last longer. And that kind of gets us into projection and longevity. I never like to get into specifics because it depends on where you spray the fragrance, how much you spray, is your skin hydrated, what's your environment, do you spray any on clothing? I mean, there's just too many variables for someone to actually give you an honest answer on projection and sillage and all that stuff. So what it really boils down to, with anything that's a higher perfume concentration with the oils, you may not get as much initial projection as the Jubilation 25 because there's more alcohol and there's more of that fragrance evaporating off the skin. And this is not my opinion. This is, Raja Parfums, Raja Dove from Raja Parfums talks about this as well. Where a pure parfum or an X-Straight, it's going to be a little bit different. Yes, there is more to smell because there's more fragrance oil, but the first 30 minutes to an hour, it does stay a little closer to skin, quite simply because there's not nearly as much evaporating off the skin, causing that aroma. And that's why, eau de toilette, that's kind of popular as well. Something that may only last like an hour to 2 hours, but you're going to get that projection for that hour to 2 hours that you wanted because you have so much evaporating off the skin. That stuff is 5, maybe 10% oil concentration. So that's kind of something I think a lot of people don't understand about fragrances is just because the oil concentration is higher doesn't always mean that it's going to give you a lot more projection or sillage. What it will mean is, 8, 10, 12 hours later, you will still smell this in the air and on your skin, as opposed to maybe a lighter one, which even this at 25%, I still smell Jubilation 25 on my skin 24 hours later after spraying it on. Is it closer to skin? Absolutely. The X-Straight, the 40, I still get projection from this 16 to 18 hours later, and I can smell it on my skin even after showering, 36 hours later if I don't apply another fragrance over this. So it's just one of those things. I think a lot of people kind of misunderstand that concept where, oh, more oil, it's going to be more projection and everyone's going to smell me for the first hour. It's kind of a trade-off because yes, with higher oil concentration, again, there's more to smell because you have more fragrance oil, but you don't have nearly as much evaporating off the skin. So when you get into these X-Straights, you have to really be into them for the longevity, the development. That's where these really start coming into their own and where they start becoming worth the money, in my opinion, is just how they develop over the time and the longevity that they give you after 12 plus hours, to where these kind of start fading away a little bit, even though you can still smell it. These are just still developing, still going. And you can take that to a further level when you look at Interlude 53 and even Epic 56, that high of an oil concentration. I mean, 40 is pretty high. And then you have 13 and 16% more oil concentration with the Interlude and the Epic 56. So you can kind of see how this goes. You can even go further down that with Attars, which is why personally, even though I've tried some really good Attars that I like, I'm not a huge fan of them because you just don't get a lot of projection out of them. And for me, the price per milliliter, it just doesn't add up. And there's some really good ones out there. Al Sharif, Pasha, of course, Amouage has their own Attars. But I personally prefer like the perfume, the stronger eau de parfum, like 20 to 20%, and even the X-Straights. Better value for money, in my opinion, and you do get a lot more compliments, mainly because of projection and the sillage, even though Attars can definitely last, 24 to 36 hours or longer because they're basically just pure oil. So, hope this answers any questions, guys. If you already have the regular Jubilation 25, probably not worth getting the 40 X-Straight unless you just really, really like it and you want to use them for different situations like me, or maybe you have older batches. I even had the older batch before this where it was a non-magnetic cap. It was just a regular cap. This was before Amouage started doing the magnetic caps. This batch is just as good, if not better, very similar. But if you have the older batches and you don't want to go through them as quick and you want something very similar but at a higher oil concentration, then maybe it would be worth it to you to pick up that 40 X-Straight just so you don't use as much of that. Maybe use this a little bit more during the winter time, or like I was saying earlier, maybe on those days where you just don't know if you're going to be able to reapply a fragrance and you have a function, a meeting, a date, something like that later in the evening, and you still want to smell really good 12 to 16 hours later, then the Jubilation 40 X-Straight would definitely be worth it to you. So really just depends on the person, what you like, what your fragrance collection looks like, and how much you like Jubilation, because overall, almost identical DNAs to the fragrance. You can pick and choose very subtle details that are very, very minor and how they differ. But overall, man, these fragrances are extremely similar. And for me, I'm glad I bought it. Of course, I have a fragrance channel, so I was one of the first to pre-order it. I got it direct from Amouage, and I paid full retail for it. That's just kind of how it goes as a fragrance channel. I knew full well I'd be able to find this for $280 to $300 down the road. And that's about what it's worth. It's about a $250 to $300 fragrance. Nowhere do I think that this is a $500 fragrance. Much like Bond No. 9 Dubai series, as much as I love Bond 9 and the Dubai series, you can find them at Joma Shop, something like that, for the $200-300s. Then they become a little bit more worth it, in my opinion. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. We got a huge channel growing here. It was just like a year ago I was at 100 subscribers, so things are really moving along. So I'm glad you guys enjoy the kind of first take, unedited reviews with no long intros and things of that nature. So again, really enjoy having you guys on this journey, and I'll be seeing you soon, all right? Bye.